After that night, Lisa knew something was wrong with the apartment. The whispers, the shadows, they weren't going away. But she stayed, convincing herself that it was all in her head, until the night she met him. It was a little after midnight. The apartment was silent, save for the distant hum of the city outside. Lisa was in bed, trying to sleep, when she heard a soft knock at the door. It was so faint that, at first, she thought she was imagining it. But then it came again, louder this time. Lisa's heart started to race. Who would be knocking at this hour? She crept out of bed and tiptoed to the door, pressing her ear against it. For a moment there was nothing, just silence. Then, a voice, low and smooth, like a whisper, through the keyhole. "Lisa, I know you're in there." Lisa's blood ran cold. How did he know her name? Her hand hovered over the doorknob, trembling. She didn't want to open it, but something compelled her to. Slowly, she turned the knob and pulled the door open just a crack. Standing in the hallway was a man she had never seen before. He was tall, too tall, with skin so pale it seemed almost translucent in the dim light. His eyes were sunken, dark, and they locked onto hers with an intensity that made her feel exposed, vulnerable. The man smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was more like the smile of someone who knew something she didn't, something terrible. "I'm sorry to disturb you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I just moved in downstairs. I wanted to introduce myself." Lisa wanted to close the door to shut him out, but she couldn't. She was frozen, staring at him, unable to speak. The man tilted his head slightly, his smile widening. "Are you okay, Lisa?" he asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Lisa managed to force out a few words. I'm fine, just tired," but the man didn't leave. He stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he murmured, his voice sending a chill down her spine. Lisa tried to close the door, but before she could, the man leaned in closer, his face inches from hers. "Have you heard the whispers?" he asked, his voice barely audible, yet it seemed to echo in her mind, bouncing off the walls of her skull. Her heart pounded in her chest, her breathing ragged. How did he know? How did he know about the whispers? Panic surged through her, and with all the strength she could muster, Lisa slammed the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. She backed away from the door, her eyes wide with fear, but she could still feel his presence, just on the other side. And then, the knocking started again, slow, deliberate, as if he had all the time in the world. "Lisa." "I'm still here," the voice called, muffled by the door, but clear as day in her mind. Lisa ran to the phone, desperate to call for help, but when she looked at the screen, it was dead. No signal, no power, just a blank, lifeless screen reflecting her terrified face. The whispers began again, louder this time, echoing through the apartment, mingling with the sound of the man's persistent knocking. Lisa knew she was trapped. The whispers, the shadows, the man at her door, they weren't going to let her go. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. The visitor had left something behind. A mark, a presence, something Lisa couldn't see but could feel deep in her bones. The shadows were growing stronger, and now, they weren't just in her apartment. They were in her mind. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share for the next episode.